You can't trade Nico unless you get one heck of a haul back in return. And from a lot of reports, the Cubs are asking for some pretty high stakes if they're going to trade away one of the best second basemen in the game. Cubs go out. They don't have Kyle Tucker. They don't have Owen Casey, but they went and signed Chas McCormick. What does he bring to the table? We're going to get into that. Couple really big trades in baseball. I think they helped the Cubs, including Freddy, Peralta. Can you imagine that? You win the division, pretty close to making a run in the postseason, and you trade your ace? That's Milwaukee for you. Somehow it always seems to work out for those guys. And the Cubs go after one of the top catchers in the international field to try to make this team a little bit better depth-wise in the minor league system. So we'll talk about all those things right here. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Join us right there, our QR code right there. AveD, Mick Nation. All you guys are saying you love the hats. That's warming to the heart because I'm going to give some of those away. Make sure you get in the comments section. Let's get, even if you're not always the nicest person to me in the comments, I'm not holding that against you. At least you're in there commenting. That's what it's all about. Let's go. What do you say, gang? Welcome to the show. Hey, you know what? We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. You guys are hitting that subscribe button like crazy, and it's making me pretty happy about that. All right, let's talk about Nico Hoerner, because I'm feeling like you're not trading Nico Hoerner. I mean, I look at this offense, and I'm going, hey, wait a second. Nico in the lineup's going to make us better. Then you look at the defense, and you're like, Nico in the field, like, we got a pretty great defense, maybe the best in baseball. Cubs, according to Mark Feinstein and some of the other people around the game, are still fielding potential offers for Nico Hoerner. And right now, I guess it's Nico Hoerner, Brandon Donovan. You don't want him. Brett Batty, you don't want him either. You want Nico Hoerner, right? And after like all of these pieces are starting to fall, a Nico Hoerner trade for a team could be the difference between them really contending and them not contending. And you continue to hear that Nico Hoerner is a player that the Giants would love to have. Now, all of a sudden, the Red Sox are kind of like, hey, they'll take Nico or Matt Shaw. You know, what would either one of those trades look like for the Cubs? And if you're the Cubs, like, how are you feeling about this? You're going to trade Nico? Well, according to our friend Patrick Mooney from The Athletic, he's saying that if the Cubs trade Nico, you're going to have to give them the equivalent of what they gave up for Kyle Tucker. And if you remember that, there's a lot. They gave up a first-round pick, a guy that played every single game he played last year in the major leagues, Cam Smith. Isaac Paredes, all-star third baseman that made it back to the all-star game. Was injured, but still good. A starting pitcher. You know, so, and they were all big league guys. And we didn't know Cam Smith was going to be a big league guy, but he turned out to be that way. So if the Cubs are giving up Nico, they're going to want that kind of haul back in return. And that's kind of how I feel about this too. Now, it would really suck if you don't trade him, you get some really good offers, and then you don't make the postseason, and then he just, you know, rolls out to another team via free agency. And you know the Giants are going to be it's going to be a competitive market for Nico Hoerner, which doesn't surprise me at all because I've believed in him before he even played one game in the major leagues. So Matt Shaw to the Red Sox, I mean, that's still kind of being talked about. But again, the Cubs are going to expect a lot in return because he's a first-round pick. He played in the big leagues last year, kept his head above water. Wasn't great, but kept his head above water. And he's under control for a long time. So if you're going to make a deal for either one of these guys, you're going to have to give up a lot to get him. And I think that's fair. And that kind of leads me to what we saw happen yesterday around the game. Freddy, Peralta traded to the Mets. MacKenzie, Gore traded to the Rangers. You're talking about two pitchers who are potential aces it's crazy to me that the Brewers are kind of in a spot where they got to trade their best players to stay competitive. Now they got back some guys that they feel like are going to help them in the future. And what's made them competitive over the years is that they don't miss on a lot of these deals. And for the Rangers, I mean, they gave away, a big chunk of their farm system, but you're getting MacKenzie Gore back with some years left on the contract. Cubs tried to get him last year at the deadline. And I thought that's where Owen Casey was going to end up, because I thought, well, if you can get MacKenzie Gore, you got to make that deal. So two really big blockbusters. I'm telling you guys right now, though, keep an eye on the Washington Nationals, because the Juan Soto deal, they got back some really good players. This MacKenzie Gore deal, they're getting back some really good players. And you get back, 3 guys to the equivalent of the one that you gave up that end up producing. It's a successful trade. Sometimes you get back 4 or 5 guys that help you produce. So it was interesting to me, but at the same time, it kind of shows us where the game is right now, and that teams are being very aggressive to try to be successful right now. The Rangers, obviously they won the World Series, and then, they took a step back. Now they have an ace in the front of that staff. And I feel like this deal, though, without Freddy Peralta, I think that helps the Cubs. I really do. You're adding and they're subtracting, and so, you get some guys back, but you're giving up somebody that was one of the reasons you had so much success last year. It's time for the Cubs to take this division, and it might not be Milwaukee that's the biggest piece that they're going to have to jump over. It might be the Reds. Just remember me saying that. All right, Cubs go out and they signed an outfielder, Chas McCormick. You remember him from the Astros. McCormick had, he's 31 years old, had some poor seasons with Houston, 342 games between 21 and 23, and had a high strikeout rate, over 27% of the time, right? Walked over 9% of the time, hit 50 home runs. He's not a fan. Look, this is an insurance piece, right? But he had 22 home runs in 23, and he had 19 stolen bases. Maybe he's one of these guys that you bring in, and all of a sudden he kind of just finds a groove with a new home. Not having Kyle Tucker, not having Owen Casey. Is Matt Shaw going to be able to go out there and contribute? Now, I've told you my feelings on Kevin Alcantara. Justin Dean, are you thinking he's going to be a guy? I don't. So I'm feeling like this is an opportunity where if I'm getting this chance, right, like McCormick, I'm like, hey, at least it's an opportunity. I would not be surprised, though, if the Cubs don't add some more guys like this to the mix before it's all said and done. Giving up Owen Casey is going to hurt. I've told you this. You remember me saying it. Mully from the morning show in Chicago, go ahead and make fun of me on this one too. And then maybe in 4 years, you can pretend you didn't watch the video and hear me talking about you talking about me. Because you want to throw your hands in the air and pretend that you didn't talk about me when I told you Nico was going to be a great player. That's what's going to happen. Just right here. It's going to happen with Owen Casey. He's that next guy. So put that in your back pocket. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now you got to figure out what you're going to do to replace that guy. Okay? So if you're the Cubs, you hope that Alcantara steps up and he's that guy. But I just feel like there's some outfielders that the Cubs are going to go after, and they're going to try to dig in on and find a spot for. And hope that somebody kind of steps up. Cubs go out in the international game, and they sign one of the top catching prospects out of Cuba. And, look, when you talk about the international game, it used to be you could just sign whoever you wanted to, now with the bonus pool, now you have a certain amount of money that you're allowed to spend. And so when the Cubs go out and they sign a catching prospect in José Muñiz for $150 million. That tells you that the Cubs feel really good about this guy. And I saw the graphic said Romero. That's actually the reporter. The catcher's José Muñiz, and he's getting 1.5 million with the Cubs. That opens on January 15th. And I'm pretty, look, man, I think that this is a good thing because the Cubs got to get some catching depth within the organization. And I mean, whether you're talking about Cuba, whether you're talking about the Dominican, whether you're talking about the Venezuela, you know, you got an opportunity to go out there and get some really good players. And you know, you're definitely in a spot where you have to make these count, just like the draft. You don't want to miss those opportunities. Hey, there's the graphics. That's right. $1.5 million signed with the Cubs. Catching. Cubs need some catching. Like, no doubt about it. You look at the system, and right now, I mean, you don't feel like they're stacked with catching. But you got to go out there and get those players that are going to help you win. Look, I appreciate all of you for getting in the comments section and talking. There's a lot of people that are disappointed with Marquis for cutting back on the spring training games. I think that the overall product's been disappointing. I think they know that. Obviously, why they gutted their staff and they're trying to take it internal. I know that the people that are running it care and are going to do the best they can to try to work through what they're dealing with right now and make it better. But we've been an organization that was built on television, man, with Harry and Steve, right? Like, so the Cubs got to get that figured out, and doing less spring training games, I don't think is a good thing. Anyway, like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, do those things. We're so close right now to 10,000 subscribers, man. You guys are making it happen. So I appreciate that so much. And we will do it again tomorrow. Make sure that if you want a hat, I know some of you guys do. Here's one right here. Look. Boom. Get in the comment section and tell me why you want one. Or I'll sell you one way or the other. Put your email address in there, and let's